As Chanukah is quickly approaching next Tuesday night, we'll discuss some Inyane Chanukah. Where do we find Inyane Chanukah? In which Gemara? Because I don't remember any Gemara on Chanukah. I know there's Maseches Megillah on Purim, but I don't recall a Maseches on Chanukah. So actually, it's interesting, even though you have a whole Masechta on Purim, and only a couple of blot, you find in the Masechah Shabbos on the second parak, this is part of our Shabbos, a second parak Shabbos that it has 3 blocks, and after it talks about oils and wicks you could use for Shabbos, the Gemara continues the appropriate oils and wicks you could use for Chanukah. And over there about Chaf Aleph, Chaf Beis, Chaf Gimel, about 3 blot on Gemara Chanukah, that's it. And as Rav Shechter likes pointing out, really in those 3 blot in Chanukah, there's probably more shtickle Torahs written on Inyane Chanukah than there are on the whole Purim. Because truth be told, Purim doesn't really have its whole Masechta. Really only the first parak deals with Purim. And even in the first 7, 8 blot are halacha, the rest are agadata. And then it goes into other areas. It talks about tefillah, how the format of davening. It talks about kriyas haTorah. It talks about Beis HaKnesset. So really there's not that much. There's not really a whole Masechta. And therefore the more shtickles on Chanukah, as we'll see, perhaps as we'll get to, not tonight, but it's no coincidence as during the time of Chanukah is the time where Torah Shebaal Peh started flourishing, as we'll come back to in another Shia. Why no mention of Chanukah in the Mishnah? Why is it left out Mishnah? That'll be another Shia we'll have to give on. So we'll start. The Gemara tells us in Chaf Aleph Amud Beis. It tells us about the mitzvah of Chanukah. How does one fulfill the mitzvah? So interesting, the Gemara gives us different levels. So the first level is Ner, Ish, Ubeso. The Gemara says to fulfill your mitzvah of Chanukah, you light 1 candle every night of Chanukah. No one can take it away from you. Even today, if you lit 1 candle, you lit oil, 1 candle every night, you have fulfilled your mitzvah of Ner Chanukah. That is your minimum obligation. The Gemara says, however, if you want to do even better, Mahadrin, you want to do even the better thing, so the Gemara says, then you should go by the members of the household. So if you have 10 members in your household, you should light 10 candles every night. So the level number 1 is 1 candle every night. Level number 2, which the Gemara says is higher, you light 10 candles every night. Again, or whatever the number, I'm just using 10 as the example, but as many members you have in your household.
One person lights all 10, or everybody should light one?
We'll get to that. That's a separate machlokas we'll get to in a minute. Very good. And then the third level is Mahadrin min Mahadrin. So there's a famous machlokas, Beis Hillel, Beis Shammai, on what's Mahadrin min Mahadrin. So Beis Hillel says you go up. It's 1 the first day, 2 the second, 3, and Beis Shammai says you go from 8 to 1. So that's the machlokas, whether 1 to 8 or 8 to 1, and we'll see the Gemara will give reasons for each one. But there's what is it going on? When we say Mahadrin and Mahadrin, is that a new category? Is that like category number 3? Or is that going back on number 1? In other words, what is Mahadrin and Mahadrin? Does it mean on the 8th night of Chanukah, you have 10 members in your household? How many candles are you going to have? So there's a major machlokas, the Rambam and the Bali Tosfos, which is going to be a machlokas Sfarim and Ashkenaz, but the reverse of what they usually follow. So Tosfos points out it's going back on Ner Ishu Beso, that it means what's the Mahadrin? 1, no matter how many people in your household, 1 the first night, 2 the second, 3 the third. And the Rambam says no, it's continuing on. It's 10 times 8 equal 80. It'll be 10 the first night, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So Machlokas, Rambam, and Tosfos, what does it mean? How does one fulfill Mahadrin and Mahadrin? So working, let's keep within Beis Hillel. Would I just have 8, if I have a 10-member household, Would I have 8 candles lit at the end on the last night of Chanukah, or would I have 80? According to the Rambam, 80. According to Tosafos, 8. So usually the Sfardim follow the Rambam, and we follow the Bali Tosafos. But here's an interesting historical difference, that it's the reverse here. That's for whatever the reason being, the minhag, again, in Sfardim you always have different minhagim, but the minhag Sfard is they follow the Bali Tosafos and they only have one menorah in their house. And we follow the Rambam that everyone, everyone lights candles, and therefore we have 80 candles. So that's the machlokas Tosafos and the Rambam, how you learn Bahadrim and a Mahadrin. So interesting. So the Gemara itself goes on and explains what's the reason for Beis Hillel, what's the reason for Beis Shammai. Why does Beis Shammai say you go down and Beis Hillel says you go up? So Beis Shammai, so number one, they say is it Keneged Yamim Hayotzim or Nechnasim? In other words, do you ask yourself what day of Chanukah it is now, or basically how many days of Chanukah is left? Obviously, according to Beis Hillel, well, you go by what day. Today's day 1, day 2, and the Beis Shammai seems to go, you're working yourself down, 8, 7, 6. But the Gemara gives another reason. According to Beis Shammai, it's Keneged Parei HaChag. And the holiday of Sukkot, a universal holiday, we bring sacrifices for all the world, not just for us. And we go down with 70 sacrifices, but each day we bring in descending order. We go less and less. So Beis Shammai says, that's also too Chanukah, because Chanukah is 8 days, Sukkot is 8 days. There's a connection between other connections as well. Near the 2 mitzvahs of pursuing Nisa, that you can't light near Chanukah more than 20 Amasai because you have to see it, and the Schach, there's different connections. Both are outside, or at least originally Mizman HaGemara, they were both out. So there are a lot of comparisons between Sukkot and Chanukah. And Beis Shammai says you go down. And Beis Hillel says no, Malin B'Kodesh Ve'im Moridin. You go up in Kedusha, not down, even though it's a difficult principle to apply here. I mean, there's no Kedusha. Malin B'Kodesh Ve'im Moridin means I put on my talis first, then I put on tefillin. The fact I add another candle is no Malin B'Kodesh. But either way, that's a separate discussion. But either way, Beis Hillel says it. So the 2 reasons of each. And we pass them like Beis Hillel. So we go, so we go up. We go Malin B'Kodesh Ve'im Moridin. So my nafkamina between the 2 reasons of Beis Hillel. So this could be what's in the Kudas HaMachlokas between the Bali Tosafos and the Rambam. Whether you say Mahajim and Ahajim means 80 candles or 8 candles. What's that all about? So it could be, it depends on which is the Ikar reason of the Gemara, according to Beis Hillel. If you hold the Ikar reason is Keneged Yamim Hayotzim Nechnasim, that the Ikar is to know what day it is, so then that Tosafos seems to be going with that. I used to have 40 candles in my house. Like, how does anyone know, what, 40th day of the Omer, like what's going on here? It's very confusing. So he seems to be going, the Ikar reason is Keneged Yamim Hayotzim Nechnasim. That's the Ikar of Ner Chanukah. And the Rambam seems to be working with Malin B'Kodesh Ve'im Moridin. As long as you're going up, that's the important thing. In other words, because that's what Tosafos even alludes to. It says, where's the hecker? Like, if you're doing, because he says, why do I say it must be going back on the first one? Because how is Mahajim Nahajim, if you have 10, 20, 30 candles, how do you know what night of Chanukah? So Tosafos seems to learn, part of the mitzvah of pursuing Nisa, it's not just to publicize the miracle, but to know what night of Chanukah it is. And the Rambam doesn't seem to be too concerned. The point is, people know it's Chanukah and it's Nes, and therefore, if someone's walking by, he's more likely to notice 80 candles than 8. So it seems to be an issue in terms of how specific is the mitzvah of pursuing Nisa? Is it specifically that you know the night? Is that part of the mitzvah? No. Like the Tosafos seems to say yes, and Rambam no. So I said Ashkenaz follow the Rambam, that we light 80 candles. Yes and no. We do follow the Rambam, but not totally. It alludes to David's question, who actually lights the candles? So if you look at the Ramah in Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah patents, and that seems to be the minhag Ashkenaz, everybody lights their own candles. You have 8 people in the home. Everyone makes their own brachas and lights their own candles. Tosfos, that's the Rambam. I mean, that's the Ramah. The Rambam writes, the Baal Habayis lights all 80. The Rambam. That he's going to be busy and stuff. How tough. So the child is, what is in the Kudas HaMachlokas here? The question is more on the Rambam. Bishlom, I understand Ramah. Everyone, I understand why everyone likes their own. They're doing the mitzvah. But the question is, what's forced the Rambam to say, obviously something's bothering the Rambam. He's saying the Baal Habayis has to light all 80. That doesn't make any sense, meaning it will make sense, but at this point it doesn't make any sense. What's bothering the Rambam that's forcing him to say that the Baal Habayis has to, why can't every person light their own? So that must lead us to a Brisker Rav, Beis Halevi, also a Sugya in Shabbos. Kuf, I think it's Kuf Lamed Gimel, Kuf Lamed Hey. It's in the 19th parak of which discusses the laws of Milah. So there's an interesting Gemara over there. The Gemara talks about cutting off different strands for the circumcision. There's some which are called Tzitzin HaMa'akvin, and others Tzitzin She'ena Ma'akvin, which means there's certain part of the Milah that if you don't cut off the strands, you didn't get the mitzvahs, like you didn't do the Milah. That's Tzitzin HaMa'akvin. Tzitzin She'ena Ma'akvin are those where if you didn't cut it off, it's still good, but you're lacking in Hiddur mitzvahs, Zek Keli Vanveyo. It's not doing it in the ideal way, but it's good. So those are the two. So the Brisa, the quote of Brisa, which says, if you're in the middle of doing, so the luck is like this. If you obviously did the Milah and you realized that you didn't do the Tzitzin HaMa'akvin, you have to go back, or you didn't do anything. But the Brisa says something along these lines, that if you did this, if you forgot to do the Tzitzin She'ena Ma'akvin, so the Gemara says, if you're still in the middle of the Milah, then you could go back. If you're already finished, you're already on the bagel and lox already, I'm sure people will claim that's part of it, so I don't want to get into technical what's considered, but assuming the bagel lox isn't part of the actual Milah, and certainly you'll have a problem if you're a Sephardi, that maybe they can't eat cream cheese with the bagel and lox, because the Beis Yosef says, we're makbid not to have meat and fish together. Some Sephardim are makbid not to have cheese and fish together. They think that's a sakana also. But either way, so they point out, so the Brisa says, if you remember while you're still involved in the Milah, then go back. If not, that's it. So the question is, why can't I go back? Even if I'm finished in the Milah, what's the problem? Right? So it comes along Rashi, and you know what? What day are we talking about here? So we're talking about Masechah Shabbos. So Rashi writes, we're talking about Shabbos. That's what the Brisa means. The problem is, we're only allowed to Milah Docha Shabbos, Tzitzin HaMa'akvin. So if you're doing the Tzitzin She'ena Ma'akvin, if you're still involved in the Milah, you can throw in the Tzitzin She'ena Ma'akvin. But if you already finished the Milah, you can't go back to do this, because maybe that's not, that you can't desecrate the Shabbos for that, or whatever the reason. Yeah. And other Rishonim, I think the Torah writes, even during the week this is true. So the question is, what do you mean? Why can't I go back during the week? It makes no sense. Yeah, the Kasha? So that's where the Brisker Rav comes in. He says, it all ties into what is the nature of the din of Hiddur mitzvah. In other words, the question is, can you separate Hiddur mitzvah from the mitzvah itself? In other words, do I say Hiddur mitzvah is inherent to the mitzvah? You can't separate the two. It's one, obviously it starts off different, but once it's part of the mitzvah, that's it. You can't separate the Hiddur from the regular mitzvah. It all goes together. Or no? There's the Maisa mitzvah, the Milah itself, and Hiddur mitzvah is separate. In other words, do they go hand in hand, or could they be separated? So, some Rishonim, so the one who learns it says Amal b'Shabbos, clearly it can be separated. The only issue, according to Rashi, during the week, you go back during the week, and you do it. It's not a problem. So, because you could, Hiddur mitzvah operates in a vacuum, independent of the mitzvah itself. The Rambam Shita is, Hiddur mitzvah only works when it's connected to the Ma'isa mitzvah. So therefore the Rambam Shita is, even during the week, if I'm involved, or the Torah, the Rambam, if I'm involved in Milah, so if I'm still involved in the Milah, and I forgot the Tzitzin Sheina Ma'akvin, okay, so go back. But once you finish the Milah, according to the Rambam, you can't do the Tzitzin Sheina Ma'akvin, because it's not shaykh to do a Hiddur mitzvah, and maybe you're doing a kabur, maybe it's even usher. That's a discussion. If you can't, if it's usher to, or there's no Indian to do it. Because according to the Rambam, you can't do a Hiddur mitzvah in a vacuum. So Rabbi Rav wants to say, the Beis Halevi has a different shot, but these two, he wants to say these two machokesim are l'shitason. In other words, the Rambam who holds that you can't separate Hiddur mitzvah from the mitzvah, that's why you can't go back. This is the machokes Rambam and the Ramah. The Rambam writes, everybody goes back, everyone lights their own candles. The Rambam says the Baal Bayis lights all 80. It's a pretty busy night for the Baal Bayis. What's the pshat? So it's the Rambam Mashitason. As we started off this year, everyone agrees what is the minimal mitzvah, the basic mitzvah of Ner Chanukah? Ner Ishu Beso, one candle. So once you light the first candle, all the next 79 are only Hiddur mitzvah. So the Rambam with Shitason, Hiddur mitzvahs only make sense if it's connected to the Maisa mitzvah. Only the Baal Bas lit the first candle, so he has to do all 79 candles, all 80, because you can't separate the Maisa mitzvah from the Hiddur. And the Ramah apparently holds you can separate the Hiddur mitzvah, and therefore you can do the way the Brisker Rav is learning is that everyone else is only doing a Hiddur mitzvah, only the first candle. And therefore, if you learn like the Brisker Rav, so the Ramah would hold that you could do it. The Machokas is, can you do Hiddur mitzvah in a vacuum? The Ramah says yes, the Rambam says no. It's not so simple, you have to learn like that. Maybe even the Ramah agrees you can't do Hiddur mitzvah in a vacuum. But who says, I'm not having mind to fulfill my mitzvah. I'm going to when I light my candle, I'm doing it because I'm doing the mitzvah. I'm not doing my mitzvah with him. So that touches on a more fundamental machlokas, perhaps between the Rambam and the Ramah, is what is the nature of the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah? It's what they call in yeshivas. Is it a chovas habayis? Is the obligation on the house that the household has to have a Chanukah candle lit? Or is the chovas hagavra? The chiyuv is on me, and obviously I have to light it in a house, but it's fundamentally like, in other words, it's like a mezuzah. A person who's homeless, is he obligated in the mitzvah of mezuzah? No, we know mezuzah is a chovas habayis. If you don't have a home, you don't have to make a mezuzah. So, so the question is, what about Ner Chanukah? That's a Tosas and Sukkah daf member. We'll get into the details more another time. But basically, that's the fundamental issue. How do you view? So therefore, according to the Brisker Rav, he's clearly learning what? According to the Rambam, it's a chovas habayis. It's a chiyuv. There's no difference who's in the house. Once the first candle is lit in the house, that's it. That is the mitzvah. Everything else is Ner Chanukah. I don't have a person, let's say, by Kriyas HaTorah. Let's say you miss shul one Shabbos, or you're out of town. Let's say we're in Detroit, we didn't have him. So I had no obligation to hear Kriyas HaTorah. It's a chovas hatzibur. So same thing here. So according to the Brisker Rav and the Rambam, that it's a chovas habayis, and therefore once the first person lights the candles, that's it. According to the Ramah, then no, maybe it's a chovas hagavra that you have to do an habayis, and therefore each person is lighting. There are other ways. It's not so simple. You don't necessarily have to learn like the Brisker Rav, but but that's the issue in terms of the Ramah or the Rambam which he touched on, that you can't separate Hiddur Mitzvah. The Rambam holds Hiddur Mitzvah has to be connected to the Maisa Mitzvah, and the Ramah holds it can be separated. I mean, it'd be a big nafkamina. According to the way if you learn like the Rambam, the Brisker Rav in the Rambam, basically every person's making a bracha on Hiddur Mitzvah, and that's the shaila. Do we make a bracha on Hiddur Mitzvah? Like in fact, the shaila comes up. Let's say it's the second night, third night. You lit one candle. You're about to light the second, and you realize you forgot to make a bracha. So the mitzvah is over. Can I make a bracha now on the second candle? Because that's a hiddur mitzvah. So that's a discussion in the Achronim. So number one, there are a couple of discussions. Someone, could you make a bracha? It's a machokas Achronim. Could you make a bracha on hiddur mitzvah? They say perhaps in this case it's different because it's a mitzvah nimsheches. It's a continuous mitzvah. The first half an hour. So the bottom line is, halach l'maisa, that if you forgot to make the bracha, but it's still within the half an hour of when you lit, so therefore we assume that's still considered, like if you're still wearing your talis, let's say you put on your talis and tefillin too early to make a bracha, because it's too early with Nate, so therefore, but when you get to yishtabach, whatever, you can move it around and make, that's a discussion, Moshe and other poskim. Let's say if you put on your talis and tefillin before the zman, let's say where you could daven, so you put on your talis and tefillin, and do you make a bracha then, or do you wait to, let's say when you get to before yishtabach? So other poskim say you wait till yishtabach when it's the zman, and then you shake it around the talis and tefillin. Rav Moshe, he says no, he doesn't want people getting an idea of putting on talis and tefillin without making a bracha. And he says, and he has no shita why it's okay, really Lila's man tefillin, and really the concern is falling asleep in your tefillin. But if you just woke up, it's not. The Rav Moshe has a chiddush halacha. He thinks it's better to make the bracha right away, etc. But that's what this Brisker Rav is totally on. This whole issue in the Rambam, whether it's hiddur mitzvah is connected or not. So let's just summarize. That's the three levels in the Gemara, whether near issue beso, mahadrin, and then mahadrin and ahadrin, the machokas, beis hillel, beis shammai, 8 to 1, 1 to 8, kedeged yavin hayotzim or kedeged yavin hamechnasin. You go with Malin Bekodesh Ve'im Moridin, or you go with Keneged Parei Achag, you go up and down or that. And Beis Shammai compares it to Sukkah, Beis Hillel goes the other way. Then we have the Machlokas, Tosus, and Rambam. What is it going on Mahadrim and Ahadrin? Is it going back on Ner Ishu Beso, like Tosus learns? Or is it going back on the next level? And that's what the Svardim, like one menorah in their home for everyone, because that is Mahadrim and Ahadrin. Because they go with the main thing is to make it recognizable what day of Chanukah is. We work with the more the merrier, Malin B'Kodesh Ve'im Moridin, and everyone lights their own. And then the Machlokas, the Ramah, and the Rambam, whether each person lights their own or the Baal Bayis lights them all. We light them all, but so what's the pshat? That was the Brisker Rav. He pointed out the Gemara by Milo, by Tzitzin HaMa'akvin, Tzitzin Ein HaMa'akvin. It's the Rambam with Shitason. You can't separate hiddur mitzvah from the Maisa mitzvah. That's why you can't even go back if you mess up the Tzitzin Ein HaMa'akvin. So too, that's why he wants to claim that's the Machlokas here by Chanukah, that once you light the first candle, that's it, and therefore everyone else is doing hiddur, and therefore the Baal Bayis has to light all of them. As we said, it's not so simple. Maybe one could argue that no, that the other people are lighting for their own, that is hiddur mitzvah. And that ties into a more fundamental issue, whether the obligation of Chanukah is a chovas habayis or a chovas gavra on the individual. And therefore, and we point out, and now it depends also that if a person suddenly making a bracha on a hiddur mitzvah, and the difference. So the bottom line is, if you forget to light candles and you already lit them, either all of them or some of them, as long as within the first half an hour, then you have what to rely on for sure. That once you make a bracha, even if it would be hiddur mitzvah, because maybe it's still part of a mitzvah nimsheches, and that's And that's some of the sugya that we're beginning with, the sugya of Yerush Rebesov, Mahadrin, and Mahadrim and a Mahadrin. Any questions? Comments? You're not going to be in the airplane on Chanukah, it's a separate shayla. But either if you're flying in the middle of Chanukah, which is not uncommon, it comes out during winter break. So that's just, just to get, it's a whole shit, but just give you the bottom. It came up, so I had Yuchayim Soloveitchik was there, my chavrusa from YU, and he's in Eretz Yisrael now, and his father was Rav Aaron Soloveitchik, Rav Soloveitchik's brother. So, so he asked his father, because actually Rabbi Green Sr. was going to Israel. So I don't know if he told Chaim or he asked Chaim to ask his father. So, because that's a whole discussion. Are you even obligated in a plane? Is the plane considered that gets into that discussion, but so let's assume yes. So he basically told him the best thing was to get, because there's an issue with candles on a plane, as you might have picked up on, especially, that was pre 9/11. Certainly now you're not going to be able to light. So basically, he said try to get battery operated lights, because there's an issue with electric lights, but battery, the power is stored right there. Without getting into those shit, that's what he basically told him to do, and get as many as you can, for the whatever night of Chanukah is, and light the, battery operated light.
With the bracha, you told him?
Yeah, I'm assuming even with the bracha.
Wow.
Because the issue with the electric light is that one of the issues is the electric, it only works as it's consumed, and therefore hanuka osa mitzvah. At the time when you light the candle, you have to have all the oil there. In other words, let's say if I just sit there pouring oil for half an hour and the candle never goes out, but I'm not yotze. I have to have enough oil. I have to have enough there at the time I light the candle. So in other words, hanuka osa mitzvah. In other words, if I have a half hour's worth and then it goes out after 10 minutes, I'm still yotze. But if I had 20 minutes worth and I added another 20 and it goes 40, I'm not yotze, because at the moment, so he felt the battery operated menorah, fulfilled, took care of that problem. And therefore that's what he said to do. It won't be an issue if you're not flying over Chanukah.